Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and it's time for another instructive chess miniature. This is a really fun one today because we're actually going to be seeing a very nice Italian attack. I never really thought I'd ever say that, but yes, this is actually a pretty cool one. Usually Italian, we see a lot of kids playing it. Let's see whenever grandmasters play it. All right, here we go. We start with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. We got our Italian right here. Knight f6 gets played, the two knights defense, pawn to g3, bishop c5, and anytime they play bishop c5, you should play this move. What do you play here as white to get a distinct advantage? All right, I heard some people saying you should go ahead and castle. Not a bad idea, but here, believe it or not, the best move to play in these types of positions, basically anytime they play bishop c5 in general, is pawn to c3. Why pawn c3? Because we want to play pawn d4, grab the center, and get a free tempo with the bishop. This is just a free move, so why wouldn't you play it? All right, well, of course, the grandmaster is not going to be missing this. c3 gets played. Black plays pawn to a6, knowing that d4 is definitely going to be in the cards later on. Well, and we should definitely give ourselves an escape route. Bishop to b3. Where's this bishop going? A lot of times this bishop can be remaneuvered, just like in a Ruy Lopez, somewhere like bishop c2. Bishop a7 gets played, moving out the way. And pawn to h3. A nice little nugget move right here. And most people are saying, why would you play this move? A lot of times I will criticize people for a3 and h3, but this actually does have a very nice idea, which you will see later on. A very flexible move, this one. All right, pawn to d6 got played. Here, black kind of knows the idea of this h3 and says, you know what, I'm not going to castle right away. This h3 move actually is threatening something like g4, g5, going for a kingside attack with keeping the king in the center. Especially because if the pawns are not traded in the center, the king is actually safer here. So this h3 move, like I said, is very flexible. And if white castles, well, h3 can also be used to stop the bishop pin. But here, well, we're going to be seeing a nice kingside attacking idea. Knight to d2 gets played. The Steinitz knight maneuver is in play right now. This is an idea used usually in the Ruy Lopez, like I said. A lot of these ideas can be stolen from other openings, and this one is from the Ruy Lopez. Here, the knight goes to d2 because the knight can't go to its best square on c3 because, well, c3 was played to prepare d4 later on. So here, the Steinitz knight maneuver, knight d2, knight f1, and then depending on where you want to move it, g3 or e3. The game will just let you know. Black goes ahead and castles here, knight to f1, and pawn to d5. Now, this is a much-needed move here. A lot of beginners will not know what to do here, and they just kind of keep developing their pieces nice and randomly, right? They don't really have a plan. Why is it important that you play d5 here? Remember the idea or the concept. When your opponent's king is attacking on the wing, like they're about to do, you can know this because, well, they haven't castled, and they're developing pieces toward your king side, attack in the center. So it's exactly what black does. He strikes in the center, and he's opened this up. Of course, white's not going to take here. This would be terrible. Now there's e4 ideas in the future, opening up the king. Of course, after something like queen takes d5 or knight takes d5 here. And, well, here white does not take the bait. Queen to e2. Although we will not be making the trade, we do need to make sure that black does not exchange queens. Remember, we're going for kingside attack here as white, so trading off the queens is going to be a very bad idea as it's one of your best attackers. All right, d takes on e4, following the rule, open up the center. Now black does have an open d file over here. D takes on e4, queen to e7, allowing the rook to slide over, and also preparing something like bishop to e6. Knight to g3, and this is definitely one of the best squares for the knight. Here it's definitely eyeing this f5 square, and if you heard my reviews, you'll know that I love a knight on f5. Remember, it's worth the pawn, as Kasparov says, because it's attacking on g7 for checkmates. All right, pawn to h6 got played. It's one of those moves that you don't really want to play, but you play it anyways, because the bishop going to g5 can be definitely bad for you. All right, h6 got played. And here, well, let's do it. Knight to h4, a move I'm very happy to see. Why? Well, the knight's looking to go to f5 here. I would have played knight to f5 earlier, but black would not have thought long. He would have just taken on f5 here. So knight h4, threatening knight to f5 over here. Oof, you can already see that the black king, although he is inside his own castle, is already starting to shudder. He's already starting to shake. He can already feel bad tidings toward his way. All right, here we go. King h7 got played. Knight to f5, of course. Queen to e8. Of course, taking here, I mean, maybe it was best to just go ahead and take, but taking here doesn't really do it. You got to replace killer over here. Knight takes on f5, and oof, look at these pieces. The queen's looking good, the knight's looking good. Even though the bishop's over here, it's also putting pressure on the king side. Remember, like I said, g4, g5 ideas are not out the way just yet. All right, back to the game. Queen e8 got played. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's keep making threats. Queen f3 with a nice little tactic. And here black plays knight g8 to stop it. Does anybody know, for bonus points right here, what was white's threat? Let's just go ahead and say, I don't know, black played something like bishop to e6. It is white to move now. What do you play here to win some material? All right, hopefully push pause. We try to figure out. Here we have the simple knight takes on h6 here, and we see that, well, the king cannot take because the bishop defends, and if the pawn takes back, queen takes on f6. Here we're going to see a similar idea, except a little bit more aggressive. So it makes sense. Black goes ahead and plays knight g8. Now the knight would no longer be hanging, and gives a little bit more defense to this h6 pawn. Well, with that move being played, knight g8, it looks like a good move. It is now white to move and win. Can you find the winning idea here? White to move and start a beautiful attack. All right, here we go. Hopefully push pause. Hopefully you see this beauty. Knight takes on g7. The knight dance begins. And oh my gosh, how do you just jump right in the middle of the king and then just say, you know, I dare you to take me? Here, believe it or not, taking the knight is just going to be losing. Although everything else in this position is losing, well, black could not help himself. King takes on g7. Now it is forced checkmate in 5 moves. Feel free to push pause if you want to. Other than that, enjoy the show. Here we start off with knight to h5 check. Here the king only has, well, one decent square. I guess you can go king h7 or to king h here. I mean, you can guess that king g6 is just going to be losing. Here we'll take a look at king to h7, which got played in the game. And here it's pretty similar to, just like the other line, if the king had gone to h8. Here it's just queen to g3, threatening checkmate on g7. And really there's no good way to stop such a simple threat. In the game, black went ahead and played bishop g4, as that's really the only way to start trying to procrastinate this idea. Queen takes g4, and, well, black just resigns here. The last move that they can do to stop the queen to g7 checkmate is a computer move, something like bishop takes on f2 check. And here, king takes f2, king f1, doesn't matter. Here again, there is just no good way to stop this checkmate from happening. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this game. We'll see you in the next one.